I filed for divorce. When my wife broke the news of pregnancy, I became the bad guy to family, but when I revealed the reason behind divorce, opinions changed. I, 32M, never imagined I'd be in this situation, but here I am, pouring my heart out to strangers on the internet. 2 days ago, my wife Felicia, 30F, dropped a bombshell on me. She's pregnant. Instead of feeling joy or excitement, I felt a wave of confusion and hurt wash over me. Now, I've filed for divorce, and everything in my life is crumbling around me. Felicia and I have been married for 5 years. We met during our sophomore year of college when we were both volunteering at a local animal shelter. I was immediately drawn to her kind heart and infectious laugh. We started dating soon after and were inseparable throughout college. After graduation, we both landed good jobs in the same city and decided to take the next step in our relationship. Our wedding was a small, intimate affair with just our closest friends and family. We honeymooned in Hawaii, spending 2 blissful weeks exploring the islands and dreaming about our future together. We talked about having kids someday, but we agreed to wait until we were more established in our careers. Fast forward to now, I'm a software engineer at a growing tech company, and Felicia is a marketing executive for a multinational corporation. 2 years ago, we bought a beautiful house in the suburbs, complete with a white picket fence and a big backyard perfect for future children to play in. From the outside, our life looked picture perfect. The day Felicia told me she was pregnant, I was working from home. I had a big project deadline coming up, so I was holed up in my home office, furiously coding away. Felicia came in around lunchtime, practically glowing with excitement. She held up a pregnancy test and said, "Honey, we're going to be parents." I remember feeling like the room was spinning. My heart started racing, and I could hear blood rushing in my ears. I must have looked shocked, because Felicia's smile faded quickly. She asked if I was okay, but I couldn't find the words to respond. I couldn't bring myself to share her enthusiasm. I mumbled something about needing time to process the news and left the room. Felicia was confused and hurt by my reaction. She kept asking what was wrong, if I didn't want the baby, if there was someone else. I couldn't explain. I just needed to be alone. I spent the next 2 days in a daze, barely sleeping or eating. My mind was racing, trying to make sense of the situation. Felicia tried to talk to me several times, but I kept shutting her out. I could see the hurt and confusion in her eyes, but I couldn't bring myself to explain what I was feeling. Yesterday, I made a decision that would change our lives forever. I went to a lawyer's office and filed for divorce. When I got home and told Felicia, she broke down completely. She couldn't understand why I was doing this. She begged me to explain, to reconsider, but I couldn't bring myself to tell her the truth. Now, Felicia's family is furious with me. Her parents have been calling non-stop, leaving voicemails filled with anger and disbelief. They're saying I'm heartless for abandoning my pregnant wife, that I'm a coward for not facing the responsibilities of fatherhood. Her sister sent me a long text message, detailing all the ways I've hurt Felicia and how I've destroyed our family. My own family is confused and disappointed. My mom keeps calling, asking if there's another woman or if I'm having some kind of mental breakdown. My dad, who's usually so stoic, actually cried on the phone, saying he didn't raise me to be the kind of man who abandons his family. My younger sister, who's always looked up to me, now refuses to speak to me. Our mutual friends are taking sides, and most of them are supporting Felicia, which I understand. They see me as the bad guy, the one who's throwing away a perfect life and hurting a pregnant woman. My best friend Tom, who's known us both since college, is especially angry with me. He called me a coward and said he couldn't believe I would do this to Felicia. He told me he's ashamed to call me his friend. I know I probably sound like the worst person in the world right now. I wish I could explain everything, but I'm not ready to share the whole truth yet. There's a reason for my actions, but I'm not sure how to tell everyone without causing even more pain. Felicia and I haven't been intimate for the past 3 months. We've both been stressed with work, and there have been some personal issues we've been dealing with. I thought we were just going through a rough patch, but now I'm wondering if there's more to it. The timing of this pregnancy doesn't make sense to me, but I don't want to accuse her of anything without being certain. I feel lost and alone. I can't talk to my family or friends because they all think I'm the bad guy. I can't blame them. From their perspective, I'm abandoning my wife when she needs me most. But there's so much more to this story that they don't know. I've always wanted to be a father. Felicia knows that. We've talked about having kids for years. I even started a college fund for our future children last year. That's why everyone is so shocked by my reaction. They can't understand why I'm not over the moon about becoming a dad. The hardest part is seeing the pain in Felicia's eyes. She keeps asking what she did wrong, why I suddenly don't want our baby. I can see her world crumbling around her, and I hate that I'm the cause of it. But I also can't shake this feeling that something isn't right. I'm staying with a colleague from work for now. I couldn't bear to be in the same house as Felicia, watching her cry and beg for answers I'm not ready to give. My colleague doesn't know the full story, but he's been kind enough to give me a place to stay without asking too many questions. Every time my phone rings, I feel a surge of anxiety. Will it be Felicia's parents calling to yell at me again? Or my own mom trying to understand why her son is acting like a monster? Or Tom ready to berate me for being a terrible friend and husband? I know I need to come clean soon. The longer I wait, the worse it will be for everyone involved. But how do I even begin to explain? How do I tell the woman I love that I don't believe this child is mine? How do I face my family and friends and tell them why I'm really doing this? I'm not looking for sympathy. I know my actions seem cruel and selfish. I just needed to get this off my chest before I explode. If anyone has been in a similar situation or has any advice on how to handle this mess, I'd appreciate it. Am I the asshole for filing for divorce instead of celebrating my wife's pregnancy? Update 1. It's been a week since my last post, and the situation has only become more complicated. I want to thank everyone who took the time to comment and send messages, even those who called me every name in the book. You were right. I needed to come clean about why I reacted the way I did. After days of avoiding everyone's calls and messages, I decided it was time to face the music. I tried to talk to Felicia privately first, but she wouldn't see me. When I went to our house, her brother was there. He made it clear I wasn't welcome, saying Felicia was too upset to talk to me, and that I should be ashamed of myself. I left without arguing, realizing I'd have to find another way to address this situation. Since I couldn't talk to Felicia directly, I decided to meet with our families together. I invited Felicia's parents, my parents, and a few close friends, including Tom, to my parents' house. I thought having everyone together might make it easier to explain everything at once. Felicia chose not to come, which I understand given the circumstances. When everyone gathered, the atmosphere was tense. You could cut the tension with a knife. Felicia's dad started by demanding to know what was wrong with me. His face was red with anger, and I could see he was barely holding himself back from lashing out physically. My mom was in tears, begging me to explain why I was throwing away my marriage. She kept saying she raised me better than this, that this wasn't the son she knew. Tom just glared at me from across the room, his arms crossed and jaw clenched. I took a deep breath, trying to calm my nerves, and started to explain. I told them that I had filed for divorce because I believed Felicia had been unfaithful. The room exploded into chaos. Felicia's mom called me a liar, her voice shrill with disbelief and anger. My dad, usually so calm and collected, asked if I had any proof, his voice tight with disappointment. I explained that. Felicia and I hadn't been intimate for months, so the timing of the pregnancy didn't add up. I also mentioned that we'd been having some issues in our marriage, though nothing I thought was insurmountable at the time. I talked about how Felicia had been more distant lately, how she'd been working late more often, and how she seemed less interested in spending time with me. Tom jumped to Felicia's defense, calling me paranoid and accusing me of making up excuses. He said Felicia would never cheat on me, and that I was just looking for a way out of being a father. His words stung, especially coming from someone who had been my best friend for so long. My mom, ever the optimist, suggested that maybe there had been a mistake with the dates, or that it was a miracle pregnancy. She begged me to talk to Felicia and work things out, saying that marriages go through rough patches and that running away wasn't the answer. Felicia's dad, who had been quiet for a while, asked if I had any other reason to suspect Felicia of cheating. I hesitated, not wanting to throw around accusations without proof, but I decided to be honest. I told them that I had noticed Felicia being more secretive with her phone lately, always keeping it face down and taking calls in another room. I mentioned how she'd stopped sharing details about her day with me, something she used to do every evening over dinner. I admitted that I should have talked to Felicia about these concerns earlier, but I had been afraid of what I might find out. The room was split. Some, like Tom and Felicia's family, were adamant that I was wrong and that Felicia would never cheat. They accused me of jumping to conclusions and letting my imagination run wild. Others, like my sister, gently suggested that maybe there was more to the story that we didn't know. She reminded everyone that we shouldn't jump to conclusions either way without hearing Felicia's side of the story. As the discussion continued, more details came out. Tom revealed that he and Felicia had been working on a big project together, which explained some of the late nights. He said they'd been keeping it quiet because it was a surprise for the company, not because they were hiding anything sinister. Felicia's mom mentioned that Felicia had been feeling insecure about our relationship lately, which could account for the lack of affection. She said Felicia had confided in her about feeling neglected and unsure about our future. By the end of the meeting, no one was sure what to think. Felicia's parents were still angry, but seemed less certain of their daughter's innocence. My parents were torn between supporting me and hoping for a reconciliation. They kept saying that there had to be a way to work this out, that divorce should be a last resort. Tom was quieter, no longer defending Felicia as vehemently but still, giving me disapproving looks. After everyone left, Tom stayed behind. He asked me if I really believed Felicia had cheated. When I said yes, he looked troubled. He admitted that he had noticed Felicia acting strangely lately, but had attributed it to stress at work. He promised to talk to her and try to get to the bottom of things, saying that as friends to both of us, he wanted to help sort this out. I spent the next few days in a haze. Part of me hoped that this was all a big misunderstanding, that there would be a simple explanation for everything, but another part of me knew, deep down, that something was very wrong. I couldn't shake the feeling that I was missing a crucial piece of the puzzle. Felicia finally agreed to meet with me yesterday. We met at a neutral location, a quiet cafe near our house. She looked tired and sad, with dark circles under her eyes and a pallor to her skin that made my heart ache. But there was also a hint of anger in her eyes, a hardness I'd never seen before. She asked me why I thought she had cheated. I explained my reasons, the timing of the pregnancy, the changes in her behavior, the distance between us. She listened quietly, her face impassive. Then she asked if there was anything else, any other reason I might have for doubting her. I hesitated, then decided to be completely honest. I told her there was something I had been keeping from her, something that made the pregnancy impossible if I was the father. Her face paled, and for a moment, I thought she was going to confess. But instead, she stood up and left without another word, leaving me sitting alone in the cafe, more confused than ever. Now, I'm at a loss. Felicia's reaction makes me think I'm right about the infidelity, but I still don't have concrete proof. Our families and friends are divided, with some supporting me and others standing firmly behind Felicia. The air is thick with tension and unspoken accusations. The divorce proceedings are moving forward, but everything feels up in the air. I'm still staying with my colleague, unable to face going back to our home. The house that once represented our future together now feels tainted by suspicion and betrayal. Felicia's family has stopped calling to yell at me, but the silence is almost worse. It feels like the calm before a storm. I know I need to tell everyone the whole truth soon, but I'm afraid of what will happen when I do. Will it bring clarity, or will it just make everything worse? Will I lose everyone I care about once they know what I've been hiding? I'm lost, and could use any advice on how to proceed from here. How do I navigate this mess I've created? How do I find the truth without destroying everything and everyone in the process? Update 2. It's been a month since my last update, and everything has finally come to light. The truth is out, and it's even. More painful than I imagined. I want to thank everyone who offered support and advice, even those who criticized me harshly. Your words, both kind and critical, helped me find the courage to face the truth and share it with others. After weeks of sleepless nights and agonizing over what to do, I decided it was time to reveal the full story to everyone. I called another meeting with both our families and close friends, including Tom. This time, Felicia agreed to come. When everyone arrived at my parents' house, the tension in the room was palpable. People were sitting on opposite sides of the room, barely looking at each other. It felt like a courtroom, with me in the defendant's chair. I started by apologizing for not being completely honest from the beginning. I explained that I had been scared and confused, and that I handled the situation poorly. Then I took a deep breath and dropped the bombshell. I told them that I'm sterile and have been since before Felicia and I got married. The room fell into a stunned silence. Then, as if a dam had broken, everyone started talking at once. There was a barrage of questions, accusations, and expressions of disbelief. I raised my hands, asking for quiet, and began to explain. I told them about how I had learned of my condition shortly after college. A routine medical checkup had revealed some abnormalities, and further tests confirmed that I couldn't father children. I was devastated at the time, but I kept it a secret from everyone, including Felicia. I was ashamed and afraid of being judged, worried that no one would want to be with me if they knew. As I spoke, I watched the realization dawn on everyone's faces. If I couldn't father a child, then Felicia's pregnancy could only mean one thing. All eyes turned to Felicia, who had gone pale and was staring at the floor, her hands clenched tightly in her lap. Felicia's mom was the first to speak. Her voice shaking, she asked Felicia if what I was saying was true, if she had really been unfaithful. For a long moment, Felicia said nothing. The silence in the room was deafening. Then, to everyone's shock, she burst into tears and nodded. The room erupted into chaos. Felicia's parents were in disbelief, my family was angry, and our friends were stunned. People were shouting, crying, and demanding explanations. In the midst of the uproar, I noticed Tom edging towards the door, his face a mask of guilt and fear. I called out to Tom, asking him if he had anything to say. He froze, and suddenly all the pieces fell into place. The late nights working together, the secretive behavior, the way he had defended Felicia so passionately. It all made sense now. The room fell silent again, everyone turning to look at Tom. Felicia, through her tears, confirmed what everyone was thinking. She admitted that she and Tom had been having an affair for the past year. She said it started as a drunken mistake after a work event, and then continued because they both felt lonely and misunderstood in their lives. Felicia went on to explain that she had grown to resent me for not wanting to start a family, not knowing the real reason behind my reluctance. She claimed the affair with Tom had filled a void in her life. When she found out she was pregnant, she saw it as a chance to have the family she always wanted. She convinced herself that it might somehow be mine, or that I would be so happy about becoming a father that I wouldn't question it. The revelation hit everyone hard. My parents were furious, feeling betrayed not just by Felicia, but by Tom, who had been like a son to them. My mom, who had always treated Tom like another child, looked at him with a mixture of disgust and heartbreak. My dad, usually so composed, had to leave the room to calm down. Felicia's parents were in shock, torn between anger at their daughter's actions and concern for her future. Her mom kept asking how she could do this, how she could throw away her marriage for an affair. Her dad just sat there, head in his hands, looking utterly defeated. Our other friends looked sick, realizing they had been unknowingly complicit in the deception. Some of them had even helped cover for Felicia and Tom, believing their excuses about late nights at work or project meetings. Tom tried to apologize, saying he never meant for things to go this far. He claimed that he truly cared for Felicia and that their feelings were real, but his words fell on deaf ears. I told him our friendship was over, that he had betrayed not just me but everyone in the room. With a last, pleading look at Felicia, he left the house in disgrace. Felicia, between sobs, tried to explain herself further. She talked about feeling neglected in our marriage, about the excitement of the affair, and about her desperation to have a child. She claimed she had planned to end things with Tom and raise the baby with me, convinced that I would never know the truth. I listened to her excuses, feeling a mix of anger, hurt, and oddly, relief. At least now I knew the truth. The weight of my secret had been lifted, replaced by the heavy reality of Felicia's betrayal. I told Felicia that while I was sorry for keeping my condition a secret, it didn't justify her actions. I made it clear that our marriage was over, and the divorce would proceed as planned. In the weeks since that meeting, a lot has changed. The divorce is moving forward quickly, with Felicia not contesting anything. She's moved out of our house and is staying with her sister. I heard that she and Tom tried to make their relationship work, but the guilt and stigma were too much. Tom has left town, unable to face the consequences of his actions. Our friend group has fractured. Some have chosen sides, others have distanced themselves from the whole situation. A few have reached out to apologize for doubting me, but those relationships will take time to heal if they ever do. Felicia's parents have apologized to me, saying they understand now why I acted the way I did. They're struggling to come to terms with their daughter's actions and the impending arrival of their grandchild under these circumstances. My family has been my rock, supporting me through this difficult time and helping me deal with the aftermath of revealing my sterility. As for me, I'm slowly healing. The betrayal still hurts, but I'm also relieved that the truth is out. I've started seeing a therapist to work through my feelings and to address why I kept my condition a secret for so long. I'm learning to be more open and honest, both with others and with myself. I've also connected with support groups for people dealing with infertility. Sharing my story and hearing others' experiences has been incredibly healing. It's helped me realize that my worth isn't tied to my ability to have biological children, and that there are many ways to build a family if I choose to in the future. The house Felicia and I shared is on the market. I couldn't bear to live there with all the memories and broken dreams it holds. I'm looking for a fresh start in a new place, somewhere I can begin to rebuild my life. I've learned a lot from this experience: the importance of honesty, the danger of assumptions, and the unpredictability of life. I've learned that keeping secrets, even with good intentions, can lead to devastating consequences. I've also learned the value of true friends and family, those who stick by you even when the world seems to be falling apart. I don't know what the future holds, but I'm cautiously optimistic. For the first time in years, I feel like I can be my true self, without the shadow of my secret hanging over me. I'm rediscovering who I am outside of my marriage and the persona I had created. To those who supported me through this ordeal, thank you. Your kindness and understanding have meant more than you can know. To those who doubted me, I understand why you did. I hope this serves as a reminder that there's often more to a story than meets the eye. And to anyone going through a similar situation, remember that the truth, no matter how painful, is always better than living a lie. It may feel like the end of the world, but I promise you, there's light at the end of the tunnel. Seek support, be honest with yourself and others, and don't be afraid to start over. This will be my final update on this situation. It's time for me to close this chapter of my life and start writing a new one. Thank you all for listening and for your support throughout this difficult journey. Here's to new beginnings and the hope that comes with them.